I had been given as ransom to some men for a minute, and I think that really fueled my drug addiction, was being sexually assaulted. And so I went down a path.
At age?
13.
13.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Alex with livinginthenews.com, and I'm here with Chantel, who has a story that may be similar to somebody you know, maybe it's similar to yourself, but it's a hard story. Kind of, you got started with drugs. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but you got started with drugs early in life.
Yes.
Okay, why don't you introduce yourself and tell them, everybody, kind of how it got started in your world.
I started at a very young age. I started using methamphetamine and tons of other drugs at age 13.
13.
Yeah. I had a pretty normal life up until about the age of 10, and then my mom was going through some domestic stuff, and we moved to Caldwell, and suddenly men were coming over, weird smells, tables full of money, and it started being something that was normal. It was constantly around me. My mom was selling drugs and doing drugs, and so after a while, dealing with some of my own trauma, I had been given as ransom to some men for a minute, and I think that really fueled my drug addiction, was being sexually assaulted. And so I went down a path.
At age?
13.
13.
Yeah. I ended up going down a path of trying to feel any other way than the way I was feeling, and that was really through drugs. I was curious of why everyone wanted to do it, and I didn't want to feel the way I was feeling. It progressed. I was on juvenile probation for quite some time. They tried to send me to rehab. I dropped out of school. I spent some time in juvenile hall. And then I got out and tried to get sober. Well, I got sober off of meth, but then I injured my leg and started using opiates.
And what time is that?
I was about 16.
Mm-hmm.
They were prescribing me Norcos, and I was on them for several months, and it just started into another addiction. It changed from one to the next, and at that time I was like, oh, I'm clean off of meth, right? I'm clean. I wasn't clean. And it progressed, and then in that time it went from Norcos to Oxys, and then at some point when I turned 19, you couldn't get pills no more, and I started into heroin, and then I ended up pregnant, was living on the streets for about a year and a half, and I lost custody while I gave him over, and then I just really jumped full blown into my addiction.
When you're saying living on the street, what does that mean?
I didn't have anywhere to rest my head at night. I didn't have any source of income for food, shelter. It started in Meridian. I was, all I had was the things on my back and the backpack. So going from drug house to streets or back and forth, right? Just trying to survive, stealing to eat.
So who did you have to help support you during the worst times?
My grandpa.
Your grandpa.
Yeah, and I think he really struggled with it because my mom at that point was in prison for the same thing, right? And he really tried to provide for me and my little brother, and he knew a lot of the trauma of the stuff that had not happened in our lives when I was sitting in juvie. He was visiting me. So he felt somewhat responsible, and he really tried to support me but didn't know how, right? And I was just off the chain. Drinking, doing drugs, smoking pot, that's what I knew.
What was your thought about maybe your grandpa and others that wanted to help you?
I pushed him away. And then, or, when he wouldn't give me money, he wanted to buy me pizza so they would give me money. I was like, he's not supporting me, or he's not helping me.
So you were angry towards those that were really trying to be there for you?
Yeah, thinking that they weren't supportive when it was just my own selfishness.
Right.
I think until I was sitting in jail at 25 years old, facing 3 felony possession charges, I didn't realize what kind of support I had until I was sitting in county jail, and there were so many people in there that didn't have that kind of support. And my grandpa came and visited me and was like, what are you going to do when I'm gone? And I'm like, holy cow, what am I gonna do, right? And so with that, I gave drug court a shot. And
Was that the turning point?
yeah. And from that moment on, something changed. And although my whole life was full of drugs and chaos and the fast life, I had to learn to relive a new way, right? And drug court really gave me that.
Before that, did you even care? You didn't even care?
No, after losing my son, I really felt like I didn't deserve anything better. I felt like that's where I belonged, you know, and I was in such a rut that I just felt stuck and empty and alone. And it's because I pushed everyone away from me. So
Thank goodness for your grandfather.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So you clicked. In that moment, clicked. Something in there clicked. Something connected. What gave you the strength to say, okay, here we go?
I think the fact that either I was gonna end up in prison like my mom and spend the rest of my life living that way, or I was gonna try and live a different way. And it was easy doing drugs and being the way I was being. I mean, it just came natural. I've been doing it my whole life. What was hard was trying to find a different way to live. It was uncomfortable. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. I had to deal with emotions. I had to be responsible. I had to all the new things. And since then, I don't look back.
So people often are motivated by either pain or pleasure. So for a while, in the beginning, you had pain that you tried to cover up with drugs and received pleasure, and you got to a point where even that pleasure became painful and it made you want to change.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I think now during your sobriety time, when you're doing, how did you get there? I've learned over and over again, you can't necessarily do it by yourself. Did you have support? Did you have people there for you? Did you have an organization? You work right now for Lifeways, and you're helping others accomplish something that was hard for you to do. Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
So I didn't necessarily go to Lifeways, but I did have something similar. Drug Court was a program that
was that here
it was in Payette County.
In Payette County, okay.
And so there was lots of different things. I had to address my mental health and my substance. I had 2 clinicians. I went to court every week for a while, and I went through these phases. And I did treatment there for 3 years until I completed it.
Did you feel like you had anybody holding your hand, or did you really just white knuckle it all the way through?
I had a counselor that really supported me. He passed away, but he definitely, helped guide me through things. But I just pushed through. Once I started, my feet hit the ground, and I just went. Because I didn't feel like I had any other option. I really wanted what I've seen in other individuals. When I was entering drug court, there's actually one of our clinicians that was the first graduate I watched. His name's Steven. And it gave me the ability to want something different, right? I didn't know what it looked like, but I was looking at it.
Right. You didn't really, except for your grandfather, as you might have said, you didn't really have the example in your life so your environment kind of controlled where your direction.
Right. Well, I didn't have any support system, and drug court gave me lots of peers that were going through similar things, which was super helpful, and I had people to help guide me through that. And I think that's what really fuels what I'm doing now. I don't know that I will always be in this position. I'm going to school for social work, and I just got offered a position as a counselor.
Wonderful.
So I'm super excited to see where my story can help others, and where I can change what happened for me, because I went to counselor, and then I had to find the right program to help me. So
wonderful. So what's the advantage of building an organization? Lifeways has this walk-in center. Tell me a little bit about this walk-in center. What is the advantage of this?
I feel like one of the advantages is that any individual in any point in their life, whether they feel like they're struggling or they're, don't feel like they're struggling, they can walk through those doors and see very happy, outgoing people that are going to welcome you in and kind of tell you about themselves while validating and relating to whatever situation you have going on. I think for me, I love it when an individual comes in and I can just connect with them and we can sit down and either go get coffee or watch something on the TV. It's a different type of feeling, and it fills my cup. When you can realize that you're not the only individual going through the things that you're going through, even in recovery, right? I still struggle. I have 5 years sober, and I still have challenges. There's triggers that I still deal with. I recently had lost a baby, and I wanted to drink. And I came in here on my time off and reached out to my coworkers for that support because sitting at home wasn't helping me any, and I knew right where to go, and I work here.
Yeah, so wonderful. So this is a place, no judgment, anybody can walk in just to meet somebody, just to have a conversation, just to say, hey, I'm here, I'm alive, we see you.
Right, you don't have to be a client to come in here and access these resources. The idea is to build relationships, right, and be here to support the people in the community. We have community partners that come in here sometimes, and if it is something that someone becomes interested in, then we can help guide them through that process.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a moment to look at the community and share whatever you want to share with them.
Don't lose hope. That is going to be the biggest thing. I was hopeless for years and years and didn't think that there was any way that I would ever get out of that lifestyle. And the grass really is greener on the other side. There is light at the end of the tunnel and tons of support just in the right places.
And I've said this before with some of your co-workers, anybody who's accomplished what you've accomplished and overcome what you've overcome, you're heroes. You really are, not only to your family, your future family, but also to the community, to those that you know. You're definitely a hero. Just like you said, your support was a hero to you. So way to go. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
And thank all of you for watching livinginthenews.com.